Thanks, Etty. There was a time when I didn't think Etty had an accent. And then I left Canada, and now you've got an accent. Sorry, you've got an accent, eh? Okay, so the previous session was a monologue from Phil. This isn't going to be a monologue from me, so really I'm going to introduce some of my panel members. And what we're all going to talk to you about is getting contact lenses prominent in our programs. And the idea is that we will all give you brief presentations. And once we've all presented those, we will gather as a panel and take any questions that we have until lunchtime. The panelists will be myself, we've got Hei Wang from China, Raj Rostawani, Mahadevna from India, Kimberly, Indonesia, and Jenny Peregrine from the USA. And I presented each panel with a couple of challenges. I asked them to think about how they teach and deliver the contact lenses within their program, and talk about really what is unique about their region. We're all from different parts of the world. What challenges they have faced in delivering the contact lens program, what's unique to their program, and what's different. Is there anything that they think is different about their contact lens program in particular? And what have they done to make contact lenses prominent amongst the voices of binocular vision? Therapeutics. This is kind of interactive, guys, and the people in India need to know, right? So, binocular vision. Therapeutics. And there's nothing else in optometry, so I can't. In contact lenses. Okay, so I've now jiggled the order just to confuse you. Judy will start, followed by the other names that you can see there. So if I could ask Judy to come up once I open her presentation. And then if I access my Dropbox, and that's me, is it? Do I just pretend to ignore that? So, Professor Judy Peregrine is the program coordinator for the Cornea and Contact Lens Residency at the University of Houston and the College of Optometry, and she's also the chair of IACLE. So, hey Judy.
I'm not going to make any calls. He has some look at the schedule. Sure.
We're really honored to be here as part of the IACLE delegation. We appreciate all the hard work Phil and Bonnie and all of you on did to facilitate our being here. We're really excited about interacting with our international friends. Okay, so this is my facility well, it's not mine, but it's the University of Houston College of Optometry, which we're very proud of. My region is the U.S., but I'm supposed to talk about, but I'm going to speak mostly about my program, because I know the most about that. But we have in the United States 21 optometry schools, colleges. At the moment, there's 3 or 4 emerging school programs, and several more may emerge since I left. Which could be a very good thing, could be somewhat challenging when it comes to some of the challenges we'll mention. Now, although with all these schools, because I think that's a lot for one country, we can get to 24, 25 soon. Our programs, we of course have the same basic programs that material we cover, but we're really diverse in our class size. Classes go down to maybe 24 per year. per class and four-year program, to well over 100. I think ICO has 165. I think y'all are probably the top. We have 100, so we're one of the largest schools as well. So you can imagine with that difference in number of students and also the diverse patient populations in the different parts of the country, even though we teach the same basic information, we're very different in how we may present it and what we have to do to make sure everyone gets an equal experience. So we're going to go through some of the challenges, some of the things we have to deal with. There's a pretty big difference between all of our schools and where we place the contact lens program, the contact lens clinic. At U of H, we like to put it early. We like to get the students in all our clinics as soon as possible. So they will begin family practice clinic in the middle of their second year. As soon as they finish second year, the summer right after that, they begin to see contact lens patients. And we like that, and we find that's a big draw for applicants because there's a lot of competition for the top applicants. And they really like knowing that, oh, you get into clinic early in this program. And we find that to be a huge drawing card. So that's just a little bit of the differences. Now, this is one of our classes. We have 100 per class. So being one of the very large schools, we have to have unique, creative ways to be sure we give every student as equal an experience as possible, to give them practice time so they can go out and practice their skills. And that's typical of such a large class. So one of the things we've started at our school, we try to always be up on the best technology, the newest cutting edge, things that will really facilitate the students' learning. I'm told that we are the only school in the United States that has a sim lab. We call it sim lab, it's a simulation lab. It's a room with, here I'll show you another one, where we have setups. It's to simulate the patient experience, but the nice thing about this, you don't have to have a patient or a partner or even the faculty. We train the students on the equipment, that's Dr. Blum, Dr. Anderson doing that. And then it's very expensive, so we have the room locked, but the students have an access code. They can go in there anytime they want, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to practice. So it really allows them to develop their skills. The downside is on this sim lab setup, right now we don't have much for contact lenses and slit lamp. DIO, fundus lens, retinoscopy, which relates obviously to contact lenses, all of that is in there. It's quite expensive. In US dollars, it costs us about $500,000. I know, that's what we all said, we're going, what, we're spending money on that. But it's excellent. It's a very realistic way to see on the screen us as well as the student. Are you getting a good feel? What is the condition? And you can program in, it depends on what station you're doing. You can program in different anomalies, different types of eye disease, different refractive errors, so you can kind of test yourself. Whoever's with you can see, are you getting good views? Are you getting, you can just, it's really, really a great program. I have never gone in that room when there wasn't a student or two in there. And other times it's really busy. This is really also great in recruiting applicants. Because we do, with all the schools, have a lot of competition from these schools to get the best applicants that we can, for contact lenses and everything else. When you say we're the only ones with this, the students go in, they demonstrate it for them. It's really good. It's very expensive, as I said, and they are still working on the contact lens part of it, but we found it to be a big asset, well worth it. There was fundraising, we secured funds, we had a lot of assistance in purchasing it. Moving on to some of the other things we do to kind of let more students see it once, more students be interacting. This is just our regular procedures lab, which most of the U.S. schools now, I think, have something similar, where instead of having to peek in a teaching tube, we have a monitor up there where, with its contact lenses, fundus lens, GP fits, we as a faculty can see what the student's saying. We can give input right then. Other students can gather around, and so more than just the students sitting behind the slit lamp can see the fits. We can project it to the whole group, we can save it. So we use a lot of that technology in all our clinics, but especially in contact lens clinics. Being a large institution with a large research program, we always have a lot of contact lens and dry studies going on. DEC is our dry eye clinic. I know many schools now have developed dry eye clinics. Ours is very busy, and we try to correlate our contact lens clinic experience, our contact lens courses with related fields, like dry eye, myopia control, pediatrics, so that our students don't see contact lenses as just an isolated area. So if there's an instrument, or if there is a solution, or any type of instrumentation that's available for dry eye testing or therapy, we have it. And when you do a lot of studies in that area, and you become prominent in that area, you have access to those things, clinical trials and everything. So the reason dry eye clinic is important is because many times we're treating patients who have severe eye with scleral contact lenses. So we're able to combine the two programs that way. Other times we have patients with very high refractive errors, maybe irregular corneas, who need contacts, but they have very dry eyes, and so they cannot wear the contacts. So we can send them to dry eye clinic, and they can treat them, and then we'll be successfully able to fit them in contacts. So we try to combine and interrelate as many of our programs as we can. We try to bring in as many very distinguished professors, you all know Dr. Brian Holden, as we can. We do this on a regular basis. If you want to get a good crowd for anything at our school, we supply food, and people will just faculty ask seats. But they would have come anyway for that. Other things we do that are some unique to our program that really increase the confidence of our program. We have so many relationships with the medical centers there, with the rehab, brain injury type organizations and hospitals, that we're able to see all ages of patients and all types of patients for contact lens fits. Some of the PEDS patients go down to infants who essentially have very severe conditions, eye conditions, and even need maybe general anesthesia, and they can be fitted. Dr. Susie Wickham does a lot of those for us. So that's huge. So most of the time on those very, very complex lenses, the student may just be observing. And then as you get more into the manageable ages in the fitting, but we do all ages for contact lenses when it's indicated. So those are some of the things that I thought were unique about our programs and BS in general. Challenges. What are some challenges? I polled a number of our IACLE members to see at their school what's the biggest challenge we have. Everybody said time. Time. We just don't have enough time to present everything that we need to do. And it's time in several different ways. The main thing is we just keep getting more new developments, more new technology, and we just can't present it all. We're not given, most of us, we're never given more time in our curriculum. And so when something new comes up and we need to introduce it and want to, we have to drop something. And then you get the very difficult decision, what are we going to drop? And it's very challenging in that way. And you might think, okay, well, there's online programs, there's actually courses the students can take, we'll tell them to do that. But the students have no time either, because all of their courses, disease, everything is increasing. So time is very, very challenging to manage that with us. Faculty, most of our faculty, we not only are responsible for teaching courses, clinical feedback, we're being done many more administrative duties than we used to have. And it's very difficult to manage time. But we all do the best we can with it. We find creative ways to work around it. Sorry, I have some time. It's also a challenge trying to, okay. I'm gonna keep going. Okay. Contact lens experiences. That's always hard. We manage that in lots of workshops. Faculty, more schools you have a limited pool of experienced faculty. And it's very difficult keeping a full house of the faculty that you need. Money, most of us, almost nobody complains about money because we all know when we go into education in states. Most of the time, we're not going to make as much as we could on the outside, but we do what we do because we really like it. I mean, we enjoy getting together in groups like this. We love working with students. We love seeing the outcomes we can provide to our patients. So, how do you increase contact lens prominence in your program? We're very fortunate in Houston, our news media, they're constantly looking for things that they can put on those news shorts, scientific developments and things like that. We don't have to pay for it. We don't do advertisements. They'll come out when they hear things like, oh, they've got a big new study for myopia control in children. I'll just use that as an example, but many of you, becoming involved in large research programs is awesome, because then the community finds out we do this, it's good for your whole program, not just contact lenses. Like when we got, again, our portion of the Blink program, bifocal lenses and nearsighted kids. That's Jeff Olin, who's here. Yeah, so in case you have any questions about that, he's the program chair, or the project chair on that. He's at the Ohio State University, and then in our school, we're one of the multi-centers, David Burnson's in charge. Every TV station in town, every newspaper, they're there interviewing and filming, and everybody's interested in kids and myopia control. So it didn't just bring us those kids and those patients, it brought prominence to the school. And what we want to do is establish ourselves as experts in the field. We don't want people saying, oh, go to the school, it's probably cheaper there. Of course, now your exam will be 3 hours long, but it'll be cheaper. Well, that's not what we want to be known for. We want to be known, people come to school because we're the experts, we're the best in the field. And any exposure you can get like this, in a big way, is going to help you with that. And we wanted at the end to say, wow, that was the best, most thorough exam I've ever had. I was there for 2 hours. But we wanted to think of that as a good thing, and we don't really keep 2 hours most of the time. So because of all this, and because of the multitude of types of things that we do, we also get a lot of referrals. We run a nonprofit, which is what you want to do. That's going to make your dean or your director look and say, yeah, I'm going to contact lens program. They're actually seeing lots of patients. They're actually running in a profit level, not under. And community involvement. Get out there, your faculty, your students, your staff, not just screenings and things. Get in all kinds of community activities. You'll be known, people will know you, they trust you. They're going to want to come to the school and see there are some patients there. Thank you very much.
Okay, Jenny. You see, I'm not really mean to my patient. I told them 10 minutes, but.
But then this morning you screwed up and you said, I'm all bark and the bites.
I'm easy persuaded. Okay, our next presenter is Jenny Lee from Indonesia. She is the IACLE Asia Pacific Regional Coordinator, so in theory, regional coordinator. There's a challenge. And she's at the Academy of Refractionist Opticians in the Prida. Let me try and give you just a moment. There you go.
Thank you for this opportunity to be able to present something on Indonesia, on the contact lens program that is happening in Indonesia, especially in my school, which is the diploma course, which is a 3 years diploma course. So I just begin with what is unique in Indonesia. Currently, we have 10 optometry schools in Indonesia, all offering the same course, which is a 3 years optometry program. And all these schools actually have to follow a national curriculum, which is regulated and recognized by the Ministry of Health in Indonesia since 2003. With regards to the contact lens course design and syllabus, is all based on the partly based on the IACLE syllabus. And we have one thing that is unique in Indonesia is that the regulation part of the contact lens. So contact lens can be fitted by those graduates who are actually graduated from this school. So the regulation part is very well done. Okay, then I go to the challenges. Challenges in the teaching of contact lens. We actually start our contact lens teaching in the 3rd semester to the 6th semester. And the teaching is all lecture and practical. Challenges that I usually face, the first one that I'd like to stress is that we do not have any clinics in the optometry schools in Indonesia. So the students actually there's a lack of real patient experience. So their practical part is very important. So This is one good thing, and one point that I want to express out is the lack of communication skills because they don't actually face real patients. Okay. Second one is the infrastructure. Infrastructure is not adequate to support practical sessions. The ratio between the students and the instruments are low. So with that in mind, usually what I do is that I divide into smaller groups, and sometimes I will take them in into other sections of the practical program. So how to make the contactless prominent? So we in Indonesia do this teaching methodology, which is one-on-one. So we have our students that actually bring in their patients, and we go through the whole process of fitting contactless. So it's more on the tutorial part. The second part is that we actually do a role play because they have not so good communication skill when it comes to handling patients. So we actually do a role play during the practical sessions. For the resource part, we are thankful with IACLE, who has provided lots of teaching resources, and the main one is the IACLE modules, the IACLE videos, and we also have connected internet for online resources during for our teaching, and also the IACLE case reports. And we managed to develop a workbook for the practical sessions for the students to follow, so that it actually standardize the assessment part, so we can use that workbook to evaluate the students on what they do in a regular basis. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. Okay, next I ask Associate Professor Hayden Wang to come up to the podium. Hayden Wang is the China National Coordinator for IACLE, Associate Professor of School of Optometry at the Tianjin Vocational University. Do you want to hold this, or should I do this? Okay.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say, how many people can understand Chinese? I just want to present in Chinese. No. Okay, I'm Wang Haiyi, and I work in Tianjin Vocational Institute. I'm very honored here to get the opportunity to introduce the contactless class in my school. My topic is the framework and practicing of three-dimensional teaching system in contactless class. Our school provides 3 years program, and you can see this is the core part of optometry education in China. So the qualification of our graduates are very important. But you know, the optical shop wants students work as soon as possible. So our graduates will get the job at the end of the semester 5. So you say time, we only have 2.5 years. How do we teach? We investigate the demand of optical shops and also optometry center. We based on the results and the national qualification certificate. Then we construct the three-dimensional teaching system on 5 levels: the teaching team, teaching content, teaching resources, occupational ability training, and also the assessment methods. At first, the teaching staff. You see, we have full-time teacher and part-time teacher from optical shop, and we also invite the experts from domestic and international to let our students have the opportunity to learn in different levels. I will introduce the teaching content in details. In order to let our students have more chance to practice, so we divided our content into the 4 parts: corresponding to different level of national occupational qualification certificate. That is, we teach the student from the semester 2 and to the semester 5. I will give you details. You say we teach the spherical subcontinental lens fitting in semester 2. That is corresponding to the primary certificate in our country. And then toric subcontinental lens fitting in third semester. And the student will get the intermediate certificate. Then we teach student JP contact lens fitting and corresponding to the senior certificate. We also teach our students special contact lens fitting corresponding to the technician. But usually our students don't get that certificate because that one requires students 2 more years practice after they graduate. And I give you an example. Do you read this one? And this is the design. We adopt the project-oriented design. How to say it? We don't have theory and lab separately. We integrating them together. So we merge the teaching, learning, and practicing together. For example, the spherical subcontinental lens we can see, and we let our students do the market survey at first, and then they will give a report to us. And also they design optimistic contact lens. So at these 2 tasks, we don't teach students. We let them do themselves to learn the basic knowledge of contact lens. Then our 3 students will work together, and one is optometrist, another one is a real patient, and we also have the third one, a student teacher. These 3 people work together. So one by one, step by step, every time they will finish one task. So they will finish the case history and the measurement of ocular parameters. Then at last, they finish the soft contact lens fitting. And we also give the student 2 whole days to let them fit in 3 other patients. Toric contact lens and GP lens, we do the same thing. Only the special contact lens fitting, we only do the lecture. In order to guarantee our students' qualification, we construct a very rich, diverse teaching resources. We are IACLE Resource Center. The students can get information there. We also have online library, and we design a real software to simulate the fitting procedure. And we also have the online courses. We put all the documents and the teaching videos and all the things on the web. So the student can learn at any time and at any place. And this is our course address. And so everyone can visit this course, but it speaks Chinese. We also want our students to can train themselves. So we have campus training and off-campus training. We also let our students train in the virtual fitting center. Because our students will work at the semester 6, so the student will train there. At last, the assessment. Our student will attend the IACLE international examination, so they can get the international organization certificate. And also the student will train in the industry and get their certificate. All the students in our school, they must get the senior certificate before graduating. For the whole course, we don't scout students in one examination. We scout them the whole process, the whole task. So this is the teaching system of our school. And I'll tell you a good news. This system, this project, we won the National Teaching Award in last year. That is the highest teaching award in our country. So I'm very nervous here because I must apologize for my English. You gave me much courage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to ask Rajwari to come in. Okay, our next speaker is the head of department for the Contents Clinic at the Medical Research Foundation. She is an associate professor from the Elite School of Optometry and director of the Contents course at Sankara Netrala Academy.
Very good morning and thanks for the opportunity to present on behalf of India. I know my name is big and not that tough for the educators because it's not tough like in regular cornea. You can call me Raji, it's very short. So I thought it's going to be a discussion, so I didn't prepare much slides. There are few answering the first question, what is unique about our region? I work for the Elite School of Optometry Medical Research Foundation. We have this formula called Objective Structured Clinical Examination and Practical Examination. We call it OSCE. And it's nothing but similar to any licensing exam, which you have a checklist for each and every step that is happening in the clinic. So the assessment tool is nothing but you have already a checklist. The professor has a checklist for each station. It is each station-based examinations or training conducted. So the student knows what all steps they have to go through, and that's the way they learn in the practicals. And during the exams, they need to follow all the steps. And it's so easier for the examiner to mark them without any bias because they just mark yes or no for each step that they go on. Like for example, if you take your optometry, it starts with aligning the instrument, making the patient sitting comfortable. And so each of these steps for each of the tests or the station, and that's easier to examine for the, it can be any examiner, can be anyone, and it removes all the examiner bias because you are going to just mark yes and no, and that's the total marks that they get. So the students are also more relaxed and they follow the steps. And only thing that we need is we need to prepare performance stations for them. The space has to be like that, and we need to keep providing such a space. And there are few questions which are again SRO based or identification and writing or marking in the MCQ type of a question. So it's easy to mark, and it also evaluates their skill as well as knowledge. So it's a good package of evaluation for the students. And so we need number of stations, we need number of examiners, and it takes a little while to evaluate the students, but it's very unbiased form of evaluation. And so, for example, it can be for a refraction, it can be for your keratometry, it can be for lens insertion steps, it can be for lens cleaning steps, so you can have 10 number of distinct SRO questions and you can mark them for 10 or 5 or whatever the scorings are. And there is no bias, but it takes a lot of time for preparation for the examiner. But once it is done, you can keep repeating for the next number of years unless you are including some newer steps or newer instruments into your evaluation. So that's how the stations look like. I'm going to play a video how these are made within the schools, much more easier. And this is just a classroom setup, but made into different cabins for evaluation. So I'll play a video how we made it a little easier to do it in the same classroom for the students and not really have a specific one more examination room or any specific setup. So this video is taken in a classroom. So that's the classroom setup. Usually we have up to 30 to 35 students. And if you want to arrange that into a practical classroom or practical session or for an evaluation, you can just make the same cabins within the classroom, and it can be made for your refraction, keratometry, or making a slit lamp. And so all the students can be in the same area and still they can do it in their classroom. So it can be used for evaluations or for practical demonstrations. And there are space for group discussions. So you have even the board, whiteboard, blackboard, everything available, and it's not a new area or clinical setup where you have to search for some teaching equipments. It's all available in the same place and it can be easily modified. So that's something we made it different for easy to use for faculty as well as for students. And the challenges, I would say, the question is what challenges they have faced. We are a tertiary sector and we have a lot of tertiary graduations coming in. So if someone wants to really learn specialty contact lenses, yes, that's the place. But it's not a real life scenario, as we all know. If somebody goes in a private setup or in a primary care hospital or a secondary care hospital, then their number of or the type of patients that the student may have to see after they start their practice is different. And the other advantage at a tertiary center is you have all the reports, all the diagnostic reports that you really require, and all the instruments, latest instruments available at the clinic. And it's easily, you can take up the reports and easily to refer for the fitting and whatever for disposing or diagnosing the patient. But in the clinical setup or in a private practice, maybe they will not have that many instruments or the diagnostic results that they will require. And the number of patients, usually what happens is it will be a very simple fitting that a patient will require, but they will complicate with too many other things and end up with tough decisions. So that's what we have seen as a challenge. So we need to mimic more of a normal scenario unless like a tertiary center for our students. So that's the challenge that we have faced. Although some of the setup in India, although send the students for outside private practitioner postings in their internship, and then they go watch the alumnus, maybe a practitioner or some hospital they are tied up with, and then they overcome this challenge. We are also trying to do that, but it's still a tough thing to do within their 4-year curriculum and then cover up everything together. And so what we have done to make contact lens prominent, yes, contact lens becomes a very interesting phenomenon when they come into the clinic, tertiary center. But until then, sometimes some people may have an optical background or a different, they would have seen in, because Indian practice is like you have optical setup, people dispensing over the counter, all of such practices are still there. It's not a very regulated practice. So students think that contact lens practice is not a big deal. And unless they, so here comes the tertiary care advantage. When they start seeing patients at the tertiary center, then they say, wow, keratoconus, we are putting contact lens and it's really giving them light. So then they bring up the seriousness, yes, contact lens really helps. But to help them know the seriousness of even fitting a soft contact lens scientifically well, it's getting tougher because people see that it is over the counter distance, then why do I need to have a course for 2 semesters to learn the simple fitting? That's the question that initially students have, but then we try to keep them posted at different clinics and see the seriousness of troubleshooting and different problem solving that they have to do in specialty contact lenses, and then they get to know. And when they look at the profitability, yes, there comes the interest again. But here the difficulty is how to balance good clinical practices and profitability. When they think of just dispensing and how do I still hold on to good clinical practices. So that's something always that is a challenge. And so for this, we keep inviting practitioners, our alumnus practitioners who are practicing contact lens well, who have independent practices, and we have industry partners who are again alumnus, or few industry speakers who come in and talk to them on a very frequent basis, every week, every month or so that they get to know the world news and even the practice outside how it is. So that's the way we encourage them. And during the course, it's like just English. So why should I sit in a classroom to just read something which is already that I can understand by reading the book? So that's something again another challenge. So we made these setup, even soft contact lens, we just give them the lenses, try to make them fit, and then out of that 20 or 30 people who are getting fitted, we will ask whom they think they are not comfortable, they are not fitting well. Then they ask them to go back and analyze that curvature, the quantum diameter and other things, and then troubleshoot and find out what is so important. So this again makes them feel that it's not something routine. I can just note down all these reading, take a lens and put and dispense. So by this, they go back to troubleshooting of that. So out of that 30 people in the class, how many did have a real good fitting lens? So initially we give lenses without knowing the base curve power or anything, and then ask them to come back and find out what is the base curve. Then initially they are biased about the curvatures and other things, and then we ask them to assess the fitting, and then come back to find out what is the curvature that fitted them well, what is the keratometry now, what values now, what is the diameter. Then they know to troubleshoot. So the simple soft lens fitting feeling goes away by saying the troubleshooting. As they go back and find out, yes, there are some troubleshooting issues. It's not that simple as what they think. So it's really important to keep the practical session more interactive and even reference based. We go back to recent journals. For example, soft lens done publications. If you see, there are so many publications on sagittal depth and relating to corneal diameter now. So when we teach them, we ask that we have one of the group who are not performing at the practicals. So they go back, find out all these journals and come and present to the other group saying that this is what I found as the latest publications, and then relate it with the practicals what we have seen. So we have to make it so interesting and then put the seriousness of good clinical practices and then tell them, yes, it is profitable and it means a good clinical practice. So it's becoming more prominent. By the time they come to the 4th year, now they understand, yes, contact lens practice is something they can really work upon in their as an optometrist and a practitioner, and then they go out as a good contact practitioner. So it's a challenge that we need to put in together between the third year, the theory practicals, and the fourth year when they come into the clinic. They are bit all together. So that's what for me. Thank you.
And I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm Associate Professor Craig Woods from Deakin University, which is in Melbourne, Australia. So, thinking about where I am, I think Australia, optometry in particular, we're finding a change in time in optometry, and I'm sure many countries here, we're all finding that optometry is very different now to what it was 5 or 10 years ago. And there's often a common debate around the world, maybe not so much in the UK, who's had an explosion of schools, but there is, whether or not there is a shortage of optometrists. And depending on who you ask in Australia will depend on the answer you get. But there certainly appears to be a perceived shortage of optometrists working in regional and rural areas, not so in the urban areas. Australia also recently has seen a dramatic growth in a different type of business model, which is the franchise model. So franchises have become an increasingly large proportion of the practice models in Australia. And it is proving to be very successful. We also have a government that is intent on controlling public spending, and it's doing that with quite a number of initiatives, and certainly it's tightening the belt in public health. So Medicare is our public health system. Everyone is entitled to access optometry through the public health system. And the fee that we receive as an optometrist provider to eye care has not shown any increase for the last 7 years, and they just capped it so it will not be increased for the next 5 years. So the fees that we see coming through our eye care delivery will not have changed for over 12 to 13 years, which is certainly thrilling as all. At the same time, all the existing schools have increased their intake, so there's been an increasing number of students going through the traditional schools, and the traditional schools were, or the established schools were in Brisbane, in Sydney, Melbourne, and in Auckland. And we've recently had 2 new schools that have started, one in Adelaide at Flinders University, and the one I'm at, which is at Deakin University in Melbourne as well. So there's an increasing number of students, and there's forever a rumour going around that there's going to be at least 1, if not 2 more new schools somewhere in Australia. The obvious choice to me will be Perth, but I doubt it will ever happen there, so it could be Sydney or wherever. Despite the fact of very prominent people in Australia, we actually do a very poor job of prescribing contact lenses in our country. We've got one of the lowest penetration rates in developed countries. 4% is the penetration rate for contact lenses. And this is a real historic problem, frustration for industry that optometrists do not appear to be fitting as many patients with contact lenses as they think should be, or that is appropriate care for patients. There is the argument that there's a constant threat from cheap sales from the internet, so why should we invest our time fitting somebody with a product that they're going to buy somewhere else? And also there's an increased interest in therapeutics. So about 10 years ago, optometry in Australia became full-scope therapeutic practice. So maybe some optometrists are really not as interested in contact lenses as they used to be. The government also are cutting down on the public dollars for universities, so we're seeing our budgets forever being tightened. And the expectation is that we should be teaching with less dollars, producing more students. So it's quite a challenging environment at the moment in Australia. Now, at Deakin University, we were given the opportunity in 2011 to start from scratch. I was one of the original academics that joined the team there, and we started off with a blank piece of paper, which is a bit of a scary thought. So we sat down and worked out how we felt we should deliver the program, and what we decided was that this would be a case-based program delivery. And what that really means is that we have a weekly case, and everything within that week, whether it's didactic lecturing, labs, or online resources and workshops, are all coordinated or orientated around the case. So if the case of that week is simple glaucoma, then that's when we'll be introducing the concept of visual fields, as well as measuring pressures, as well as assessing optic discs and things like that. So we'll have some cases which are dedicated towards contact lenses, so that week is contact lenses. So everything, whether it's ophthalmic instruments, professionalism, or disease, is all coordinated during the week. We also deliver a 10-semester 5-year course over 3 semesters each year. So ours is a 3-and-a-bit-year course. It's a 5-year course crammed into 3 and a bit. So it's an accelerated course. So students don't get a break, and neither do we. So between each semester or trimester, we have a 4-week cycle where we have to complete all the examination process, review process, before they start the next cycle. We do give them Christmas Day off. And the table you can see that kind of shows you the structure. It's basically like most courses, increasingly more clinical and more advanced optometry as you progress. All our students are assigned to a team, so we have 90 students. They get into 10 teams, which is about 8 or 9 per group, and they work as a team. And a significant proportion, about 30% of their personal assessment and their personal mark is based on the team score. So it teaches them they've got to work as a team to deliver an outcome. And that certainly has the potential to create conflict within some of these teams, especially when you have a real high achiever who's trying to drag someone who believes in doing the minimum they possibly can to get to a degree. And frankly, we put them in a room, we shut the door and leave them to sort themselves out. We do not get involved. They stay in the team for 6 months, so we rotate and change the teams every 6 months. We have clinical observations, both within optometry practices and ophthalmology practices, and also at the local hospital where they can observe outpatients as well as therapeutics. We have clinic participation, which we get provided to us by external agencies. So we do not have a clinic at our university. We send them to an organisation called the IACLE, the Australian College of Optometry, where they get their primary care experience, as well as going to the local hospital to see more complicated conditions as well. The last 2 trimesters, they actually go out into placements. So they're working in practice 4 days a week, 8 hours a day, being exposed and providing care and supervision of the practitioner in that practice, which is very similar really to the UK pre-rate model, except that this is controlled and monitored by us. In relation to trying to make contact lenses prominent, our course is structured around 50 large cases and we have 20 supplementary cases over a series of units, and of those cases, 19 of them involve contact lenses. So that's the kind of, if you want to look at the proportion of exposure to contact lenses. We've reverse engineered the course, so we make it simple, so when they start playing with contact lenses, they're introduced to daily disposable contact lenses, and then once they've got used to those, we introduce the concept of lens care, and then rigid permeable lenses. So simplest, or perceived simplest to hardest, there's no chronology in our course. And they use contact lenses for other labs. So when they're doing a refraction lab, they wear contact lenses to be refracted over. So we'll have a high myopia class. So the patients will be wearing, the students or the patients will be wearing +10, +8 lenses. so they can learn to refract time out. The same with high corrects, they'll be wearing contact lenses. They'll be wearing turrets, so they can learn how to do sphere still refractions as well. When they initially do the IACLE tonometry, then they'll be wearing contact lenses and bandage lenses, so they can do what they like, do their best. So they perceive contact lenses as a tool to aid their learning, hopefully to break down barriers of that. And then we use contact lenses to induce really high ametrography for the low vision marks. So they're the kind of things that we do in our new uni course. So I thank you for that. What I'd like to do now is to invite the other presenters back to the table here if we could. So if Judy, Jenny, Raji, and Paying would like to come up, then we can have a discussion, and we're happy to take any questions that anyone may have. If you like to show your hands, then we can address those. Oops. Here we go.
Craig, why are you just talking about cases? Explain that again about the cases.
Okay, so we have 5 trimesters for teaching the clinical component of our course. Each trimester is 10 weeks, so we have 50 weeks of teaching delivery, and each week is a particular case.
So in week 1,
So
how simple case would you want?
So week 1, they all turn up for the first week, and we explain to them how the process works, and then we introduce a scenario. Patient walks into your practice with a red eye. What are you going to do? And then we send them away into groups, and they try and work out what they're going to do. Now the groups are moderated by a nurse. So an untrained healthcare provider is the moderator. And the idea of the moderator is not to provide them guidance, it's to provide, or not to provide them with specific guidance, but to help them learn how to learn. So they self-direct. We give them general outlines during the week, and if by the end of the week they haven't got it, they know they've got a busy weekend. Because we assess every case. So rather than having a significant number of assessments at the end of the trimester, they get assessed every single week. The following week, first thing Monday morning, to assess their knowledge on the case they had the previous week. So they have to get it right. Does that help? Thank you. Good question. You clearly were trained well as a student. Okay, I have some questions if no one else is. So, hey, can I ask you a question, please? And I actually thought your English was better than my Chinese. I don't speak English, I speak Northern. Apparently, I sound Australian, mate. Sorry. I don't get that. So, hey, sorry, would you like to just talk through how you use IACLE resources as part of your teaching?
That is my question. And not only for my school, but almost for every school in China, they use IACLE resources. So all the teachers prepare the slides, use IACLE resources. Because we use the module from 1 to 10 to select something that's there. Also, the students in our school will buy the DVD, and then they will use them in their mirror time. So this study by themselves. And we also attend the international student examination. So all the students attend that. And you know, the industry will sponsor our students. They set up scholarship in our school for IACLE STD test. For example, the Johnson Johnson and the Korean. So the excellent student can get the scholarship when they pass the IACLE STD test. Can I explain your question?
Thank you very much. So, do you make it a compulsory purchase the CD, or is that voluntary?
No, because you know there's scholarship there, and if the student do excellent job in the examination, and they will get the scholarship. So the students want to learn more, so they will buy it. And we just sell and say you can learn it on our resource center. You can read it. You will have book there. Also, you can buy the movie. You learn it in your
It must be nice to work in a school where all the students are really enthusiastic.
It's much
That's
cheaper.
very novel.
It's much cheaper. Only I think $15.
Right. Okay, right. You ready? Anyone else got any more questions? Hello, young man at the back.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Professor of London from Pakistan. I'm a philologist, not as qualified in the subject. But my question is to our friend from China. And that was, she mentioned that they are running about 3 types of programs. First is 4-year program, and the second is 3 years diploma program, and then there are certificate level courses. So my question is, why is not a uniform program all over? And what is the advantage of having a 3 years and 4 years simultaneously? I mean, I'm a bit confused. This is one question. Then
Okay, so hey, just a moment before you answer. So just to be clear for those colleagues in India and elsewhere.
Jordan, Netherlands, online.
Good. The question was that in China you run different number of year courses, and why do you have the different levels and different lengths of courses? What's the benefit or what's the purpose of that?
Usually they will sell the service like that. And that's a very good question. I don't know how to explain that. China is so large. We have more than the total population in the world. And I think we start optometry education until in 1980s. So our school set up the optometry major in 1985. That is the first one. And so, you know, we can see from this chart, the last 4 is the optometry program in college, but the first one is not. That is from technician school. Although both are the 3 or 2-year program, but that is different. The first one can only do the simple job, but for 3-year, 4-year, and 7-year, they can do the real refraction. But for the 5 and 7-year program, they can only run through them. So, you know, almost there are so many optometry programs there. The optical shop still need people. So we have many shops training there from 2 weeks to 2 months. And when they pass the examination, they can get the National Occupational Qualification Certificate and they can practice. So I think just because China is so big, it's difficult to use one optometry program to do that. But that is the optometry education now. We only have from the 1985 to now 30 years history. So we develop quickly. And I also believe we are developed more quickly than before. Thank you.
So, can I just follow up a little bit on that to just make it clear in my mind? If you have these different lengths of courses, could you progress from the 2 or 3 year course past that and then go on to the 4-year course and then progress on to the 5 or 7-year course? So is there like credit for prior learning if you have that?
No. Usually we don't have grades there. For example, the graduate in our college, they graduate, they get the diploma, but they can't get a bachelor degree. And they also have no bridge to let them how to pass. So now they cooperate with some school in America and try to set a bridge more that. And also, you know, the 4-year program, the student can get the Bachelor of Optometry, but not the Bachelor of Medicine. So they can't work in eye hospital, but they can be a doctor. But in the 5 or 7-year program, the student can do the doctor and become the doctor.
Okay, Raj, I have a question for you. How do you plan your practical and clinical processes? Could you talk through that for me?
The practical knowledge starts from the 2nd year of the optometry. So it's a 4-year optometry course. In the 2nd year, they just observe in the clinic along with their senior and the practitioner. They are not supposed to touch any of the instruments. They just get to familiar the clinical procedures. And then in the 3rd year of optometry, they start doing in between the students in the practicals, as I showed you in the clinical cabinets. They start practicing within the classroom. And then at the end of 3rd year, they start having the evaluations based on some of the student volunteers acting as their patients. And then we start up with the clinical practices at the end of the semester. And once they are more confident, then they are put into the clinics for few of the initial steps like history and pre-examination in the 1st semester. And then they have a mentor optometrist who go through the fitting process along with them. And in the 4th year, final semester, they are allowed to do an independent practice. As I told you, since our practice is more of a specialized contact lens practice and a tertiary center, there are very few cases who are simple myopic fitting or toric fitting or even a bifurcation. So it's more of a GPs and spiral and so or some troubleshooting of soft lenses. That's the way the practice is. So students get few of these cases within their 4th year postings. As I told you, just to bring in their interest, by the time they feel yes, contact lens is important for their practice, we stop their posting from that. It's like giving them enough that they gain interest and then gain interest for a post-graduation or a higher degree. So that the postgraduates get more of a posting in the specialty postings like the irregular cornea clinic. We have a separate irregular cornea clinic and a diagnostic clinic, and even a clinical research center. So the postgraduates get postings on these clinics, the irregular cornea or the diagnostics, and then we train the postgraduates more on this, and then they start practicing at the irregular cornea clinic or the specialized troubleshooting soft lenses center. So there are clinic timings that we have made specifically for student posting, especially like in end of the day and in the weekends, where we have more of walk-in patients who come for a normal soft lens fitting or like a private practice. So to mimic a private practice, we have made it as a setup to have clinics in the evenings and in the weekends, so that students can have more such a involvement in such practice. So that's how we distribute the posting. So they start getting the exposure of the clinic from the 2nd year until the 4th year. Just when they feel that yes, contact lens practice is big, they get stopped from that. So they get to know how to do a fitting, they know how to handle a patient at the clinic, and some of the troubleshooting. And by the time they need to just for the example, a specialized steel fitting or anything, they need extra practice. That is understood. We can't completely train them in a graduate optometry school for a specialized contact lens practice. So they go into a fellowship program, a 6-monthly fellowship program, or a 1-year residency program, or a postgraduate program, depending on their interest. And that's how we residency.
Thank you. That seems quite extensive, really. So, anybody got any comments or questions? I'll take the gentleman behind the gentleman.
Thank you. Craig, I just wanted to know that, how do you see that with tri-semester versus semester system? Like, if you just compare and give us your understanding.
For my course?
Yes.
Okay, the question is the difference between a semester-based system and a trimester-based system. So, simply put, a semester-based system has 2 teaching periods a year, and then a non-teaching period where everyone goes and sits on a beach. Is that right? Whereas we have a trimester-based where we have 2 teaching periods and we go and teach on the beach. Because it's Australia, so we have to have a circle. So seriously, we teach 3 teaching cycles a year, as opposed to a conventional course which has 2 teaching cycles a year with the non-teaching period, which is common to all academics for them to go away and do all their real work, write all their grant applications, and do all that. James?
Can we get a microphone to James, perhaps? Because
next to the camera.
So just to follow up on that then, so your teaching staff, do they have a trimester off? Because otherwise they essentially have 2 months in the year when they're supposed to be doing all their marking, presumably taking a holiday on the beach as well. And also, how does that impact evidence-based teaching? Because the whole point about university compared to school is that it's evidence-based. It's much more cutting-edge research, current research. So how do you, as academics and teachers, keep up with that if you're teaching all the time?
The concept is that we have sufficient academic staff so that we're able to cover teaching 2 out of 3 of the trimesters. So the advantage to us is that we should be able to select which non-teaching period we wish to have during the year.
And the reality?
The reality is that the first cohort graduates in June. So the current reality is not a chance, because we've gone from 4 academic staff and we're now 16, and there'll be 3 more academic staff joining the team by the end of this year. So as we grow and moving forward, now we'll be able to find the opportunity for us to have a break in teaching. So there's been a significant gap in our research over the last few years. But in response to your question about evidence-based, because we're such a new course, we really are absolutely at the cutting edge of what the area is. The burden on it is to make sure we maintain that moving forward, which in theory should start to happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome, James. Thank you. That microphone doesn't work.
this works.
Oh, sorry.
Press and hold the red button.
One of the problems that we see are the recruitment of patients for the clinics. Can anybody give us some new ideas how to recruit patients?
Does anyone want to go?
We do have this challenge. We have patients referred by the ophthalmologist within the hospital, but that again is not a balance for the practice and the profitability or different other practice software practices. So we do go into corporates or even colleges, and being in medical research foundation, we have some non-profit organization rules and regulations that we cannot really advertise and bring in patients, but we can do good to the public and still bring in patients. So we do have clinical research as well as for the clinic, we need to have some patients coming in. So we have some camps or a corporate executive eye screening or detailed eye examination done at their premises. So we go and talk to corporates or colleges, ask them for contact lens screening or a contact lens campaign, and then give an awareness talk on contact lenses, benefits of contact lenses, and then those who are interested, they are brought into the clinic for further testing, giving some offers for their consultation or for trial lenses for trying out for a day or a month, and that's how we attract people. So that's how so far we are doing.
Thank you. Anybody else want to comment? Anybody else here who should comment? I'll come to you in a moment. Yeah. Hello.
Hello, I'm Prema from India.
And one of the things which has worked very well to teach multifocals for our students is we ask them to bring their parents back to the clinics to teach them, because it is easier to, our students' parents are all presbyropic and it's a lot easier. And we also, for the regular fittings, we ask them to bring their friends back, and in fact, we've now made it a condition during examination. They have to bring a friend, but they don't get to fit their friend. A classmate of theirs got their friend in the other way around, because we don't want them to not practice earlier, done their fractions earlier, and things like that. So at least for certain fits, that's every kind of fits, and examination the systems are very good for us. And of course, any other colleges.
Do you want to hand the microphone to the lady next to you?
In fact, it's the next question to you, Craig. It's about your slide which said clinical observation, clinical participation, and practical. Could you be a little more elaborate on how these words differ?
Okay, yeah, sure. Meg, did you want to respond to the previous question? You have a different question, okay. So I said that there were, what did I say? Right, clinical observations is our introduction for our students. They will go into a practice, or they'll go into a clinic, and they will sit and observe care delivery. So it's non-participatory. And they, as part of that process, they'll observe different types of care delivery, and they'll generate a case report from that observation. They also have an electronic logbook to monitor the things they've observed. Clinic participation is where, as a student with more knowledge, experience, and skills, they're in a clinic whereby the optometrist or the ophthalmologist points the finger at them and they go, "You do it." So they don't provide the whole care, but they may do tonometry, or they may do the visual fields, or they may do the refraction. So they're almost as an ophthalmic assistant at that stage, and patient care delivery is where they're the provider. So they take it from the beginning right through to the end of the patient's experience and care. And placement is when they go off and actually work in a practice for 6 months. I've got May as a question.
I'll go after May then. I've got an incoming question.
You've got an incoming question?
So let May go first.
I need a microphone. Actually,
Hi, my name is Naida. I'm from Jordan. My question actually about the resources. So, all of you mentioned that we use IACLE resources for teaching. Do you still rely on textbook, or do you just leave it for student choice?
We can have a real short response from all 4 of you, if you like. And you've got the microphone, May.
We set up a resource center. We have a library. So every student can go to that room to get information there. We have computer there, and we also have books there. And the student also can buy the DVD program, because the IACLE provides a student program to let the student get cheaper price to buy it. So some of them buy it. And also, some students want to learn English in our country. So they buy the English DVD program because they only have 10 books. So they use IACLE resources with me.
Judy?
We have access also to the IACLE resources on hand and we all use it. And then AOCLE, the American version as well. We have a lot of resources.
I think that's right. So,
we find in most of the American schools, I think, probably have the same problem. We also have required textbooks for each course, and somehow they've been missing from the store, and the students cannot buy them. I encourage them to buy them if they're really good texts, which they are, by saying it's going to be test questions from the book. Then instead of covering the past day, they just like resources, just really play it up, and I find in my contact lens class, most of the students will buy the books. But we do appreciate greatly all the support we get from IACLE and AOCLE. And AOCLE for us, you know, if we have a question or something we can't find, we can just email people from our directory, instantly get responses. This is how we do it in our club. And I'm sure that IACLE resources can be that way too.
Roger.
One of the ways that we have used IACLE resource differently is if you see each of the modules, there is a practical demonstration in the form. So what we have done is, with the permission of IACLE, all the practical sessions we have combined and made it as a workbook and a checklist. So they go about the practicals as and when the theory is over. And the theory class is basically, as I told you, initially it's a discussion session, because as I told you, people don't like just reading whatever is there in the book and hearing in the class. So initially it's a discussion session, and then if they have more questions, then we go about easy way of presentation. Yes, I could use a very easy way of presentation method. We have it in order, so we use them. And we also have them go to different books. We do tell this chapter, this book, this journal, and go and refer and come back with a presentation or an assignment, so that it encourages them to refer to other books also. Do not spoon feed them. So, and that's how we use it. And few of the modules are really extensive, like beyond 6th module, it's beyond the basics. So in that, spending enough time for presentation is really useful for me. It reduces the time that we take for making a presentation. That's the advantage. And the case discussions that I can give. So students know that there are some resources which they cannot access. So that's what we need to keep them aware. IACLE module, they just download from the net and then say that I know everything and I can answer any question my professor is going to ask in the assignment. So it's not like that. So we use those videos and slides and slide collection and the case discussion for evaluations, and then make that evaluation as a quiz or an any assignment for their continuous assessment, and that's how we use the resources.
Jenny.
So for the IACLE resources, for me is in education itself. Most of the students will actually the hard copy, so they actually have to read it because most of the students would like to sometimes they use this as a reference. So when they do a final year project, they really have to read it through, and it is actually a self-explanatory in that. So they take all the things that is available in the notice and notes page and everything. So they actually put it into their final year project. So it's actually very important for the part of download in the CD. They get the pictures, so they actually copy the pictures, slide, and place it in their final year project. So it's both, so we can use it the hard copy and also the soft copy.
Hello, hang on. Ethernet's coming through, Phil.
Thank you, Craig. Craig, we've got a viewer in India who's sending some questions. She congratulates you on an excellent session and enjoying it being global in nature. The question actually she has is for Julie, and it relates to using the simulation programs and systems that you have. Has that replaced sort of seeing live patients to any extent? And how, any other comments that you have on how the students find those simulations?
No, it doesn't replace, it's an additive thing. They're in lab a certain amount of time, you can only practice, for short periods like that. And your lab partners practice the same every week. And so no, these are more additive, extra practice, extra time, letting you see how you're doing, because it lets you see, am I getting good views, or how am I doing on my scopes? It's just something extra to help you develop your skills and find it.
Did I hear right that there's no contact lens element to that at this time? Is that correct?
That's correct, and the whole system is very new. They say it will probably be a couple of years before they have surgery. or the split night type things.
Okay. I should say the final talk on Wednesday is a lot about virtual reality and these sorts of things in different fields, so we'll perhaps get to see how this might work in time in our own area. Of course, the resources need to be developed. Back to you, Craig.
Thank you, Phil. I'm sure I shall take all the credit for such a fantastic session. Okay, am I done, Essie? So, I actually think that this has been a fantastic session, but I actually think it's because of the 4 people here who actually demonstrated to us the diversity that we have in optometry and how we teach and what our needs are within the environments in which we work. So I really would like to thank you all for coming along. I think you all did a great job. And I'm sure the audience would thank you appropriately.